God just happened to bless me with a whole bunch of grief. My mom passing away. A year later, my father passing away, my stepmother committing suicide, my best friend's son getting killed in a drive-by, my best friend's daughter getting killed in a motorcycle accident, and then my childhood best friend going to jail for murder, all within 18 months.
Welcome to the Whole Human Experience, your library for experiential wellness. Man, all right. Well, we were just getting into some good stuff there, some mud, as we like to say, which we'll continue to go into the mud. And the level down has been an insight that you've given me that I've actually never had that code. And I imagine many people listening are used to the level up. And you have been somebody. I'll actually just open it with some vulnerability. You are the reason I was at my father's deathbed. You personally are the reason I was with my dad when he died. And you are the personal reason through our relationship that I had the tools and capacity to grieve his death. So thank you. Thank you, Branden.
It's an honor and such a beautiful moment in time to be able to share codes and my own journey as a means to help you connect deeper with yourself and this transitory time with your family.
Yeah. It was as we were going into Peru, we were in preparation for Warrior 10. And this is only a few months ago. It's 5 months ago.
Wild.
And in that preparation, so much has happened. In that preparation, you gave me the codes because you received them yourself. And we were just talking about this, like to be able to hold the space, but be able to have times of fully receiving. And as somebody who's so often a space holder, just be like, all right, I'm just going to receive in this. While also having to hold my family and having to do those things with them, you gave me the codes to be in receivership with grief. And man, that level down, as you would call it, the soil work, has changed my life forever. So I'm so happy we get to have this conversation.
Yeah.
And level down, get in the soil.
In the mud.
In the mud, dude. Get messy.
Yeah, what's really cool is you were so ready to receive it all. Like, until grief knocks at your door, people don't really know grief. And especially when it's a parent, especially as a son, when it's a father, to walk into that portal of grief and have to sit in that space without the tools necessarily initially to navigate those spaces, it can be a very bleak experience. But when the tools are there, it's nutrient-rich material that's there to initiate us into our highest level of potency, power, and love. And the only reason I never thought in a million years that I would be like the grief guy. Like all of a sudden, like grief has become this master teacher for me. And for those of my brothers and soul sisters and soul brothers who are on the path, who are walking into those portals that every one of us is going to meet at some time, to be able to share a little bit of like what I learned and what worked for me is just such an honor. And it is so true. There's nothing that you can really fake when it comes to truly meeting grief. The truest essence of our inner world comes out, and authenticity is the byproduct. And it ends up being like this great connector. Like, even though you and I both have different backgrounds, different stories, different life expressions and all that, when we sat down that first time, and then the multiple times we had opportunities to connect about grief over the last few months, all of that stuff faded away. And it was this beautiful space to be able to meet each other in the most human of things, which is grief. So one of the things I really appreciate about you is how you received it, and how also you really began to take it and alchemize it and work with it as if you were working the soil of your own garden. And I've seen a beautiful, beautiful energy come online from that, beautiful wisdom beginning to blossom. I'm excited to hear even more about that. And I also truly believe that it has ignited this initiatory aspect of you to step even deeper into communal leadership, because you now know how to move through the underworld.
Yeah, maybe we can speak to the initiatory piece of it. Because Francis Weller's like the G with this, right? He's
Raise up to Francis. Those that know.
Man, you brought me into his world, into his work, and it's changed my life. And it's what has given me capacity to start understanding grief and actually holding grief spaces for family, for friends. And he talks about initiation as a contained encounter with death.
Yes.
Right? Can you expand on that? Can you explain that?
Yeah. So once upon a time, when it was time to be initiated, we or the tribe would take a person or facilitate a person on a journey of dissolution, where they came up against something that was designed to fundamentally restructure who they are at the core. And on the other side of that, they were expanded, they were elevated, they were made different. The initiatory process was designed to do that, to unlock the best of that individual, so that not only were they truly living through their most aligned essence, but what was unlocked in those individuals, they were also able to pour into the community system. This is the paradox of our time, is there's so many people who are on the path of initiation. How do I level up? How do I take myself to the next level? How do I get more money? How do I get more skilled? How do I acquire more tools? And in our modern day sense, it's all designed to amplify the I. Once upon a time, it was always designed to amplify the we. The individual, from going on the initiatory process, becomes a more expanded individual. And the community receives this more expanded individual, and it becomes a net positive, nourishing, rich expression that also pours into the community. So initiation at its core was really always about the community, and we have lost sight of that. But a good initiation, and Francis Weller would say, there's a very thin line between initiation and trauma. Trauma is when you come up against a threshold. It fundamentally restructures you, breaks you down, but there's nothing to put it back together. There's no containment. There's no container to cook it. An initiation, a good initiation, same thing happens, but when there's a container to hold it, it is designed to cook the individual, metabolize everything that comes up, and on the other side of that, they are able to step into a more aligned, more mature, more nutrient-rich expression for the community.
Yeah, this is really life-changing to just see the difference of initiation and trauma as containment and then non-containment. Did you have the containment when you had your biggest griefs, when you had loss? Or is that something that you had to realize and then find out later and then grief later and find that community? As somebody who is constantly leading the charge, when you had loss, when you lost your parents, when you lost the people that were closest to you, did you have that containment?
So starting out on this journey that I speak about a lot, of climbing from the streets of poverty to the beautiful platforms that I do stand in now, where I'm able to lead and teach, there was a lot of containment expressions that I held that I didn't know was containment. Like my fitness practice. Anytime I would go through some depression, anytime I would go through some grief, anytime I would go through some challenge, I would lean into my workouts, I would lean into exercise, I would lean into yoga, I would lean into life coaching, I would lean into plant medicine at times. But I didn't have the vernacular to know what I was doing. I just knew that when I was depressed or when I was faced up against some type of challenge, these things brought a sense of peace or helped me integrate it instead of it being stuck. It wasn't until my mother passed away that I actually felt compelled to dive deeper into what grief was. And, they say when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. It was about that time that I was in a men's group, and they were like, we should dive into Francis Weller. And the first moment I listened to Francis Weller, I was like, this is everything that I needed that I didn't know I needed. The language that he used, the connection to the indigenous ways, the soul loss that I was experiencing, feeling alone, as a lot of our brothers and sisters who are on the path in this modern day and age, like they have to hold it all on their own to realize there's something that's not fundamentally wrong with me, that deeper than that, there's something that is fundamentally wrong with our society, a society that is grief adverse, a society that values production over human expression, a society that has forgotten its indigenous ways, a society that has lost connection to the ancestors. Once this body of work came online for me, it was instantly throughout my entire being, I found something that started to help me orient in the chaos. And then what I learned is the more we're able to orient in the chaos of grief, of shame, of pain, of trauma, and begin to contain it in a way that is nutrient rich, there's no more powerful place to be. But when you don't have the tools, it feels like the world is ending. When you do have the tools, you realize that it is nutrient rich soil, and done right, you can grow not only a garden within yourself, but you can grow a garden for the community as a whole. And so Francis Weller was the catalyzer to open me up to this deep understanding of what grief is, how it moves, why it's important, why it is one of the most sacred spaces that any of us have an opportunity to enter into. And God just happened to bless me with a whole bunch of grief to be in the lab with as I was learning these different concepts. My mom passing away, a year later, my father passing away, my stepmother committing suicide, my best friend's son getting killed in a drive-by, my best friend's daughter getting killed in a motorcycle accident, and then my childhood best friend going to jail for murder, all within 18 months. And so that whole entire thing restructured my entire world, but it also became an opener of my heart and my desire to understand this concept that every one of us at some point or another is going to have to walk into and walk through. And it's so interesting now because so many of my friends are dealing with their parents passing away. And so many of my friends that I've had a chance to like be with or talk to as they're going through their journey, they're like, yeah, everybody's hitting me up and they're saying love and light and sending you prayers and rest in power, but I don't feel like really anybody knows how to be with it. And they're like, Branden, there's something about like you just saying, I get it, bro, that actually feels so much deeper than all of this superficial, words vomit.
Yeah.
And I'm learning that is just such an honor to be able to show up for somebody and be like, I see you and I feel you, and it sucks. And the pain is real, and you are not going to be the same on the other side of this. But there's also a lot of beauty. And here are some tools and techniques I've learned to really mine for the gems of this dark night of the soul.
Yeah. Some of the best medicine with grief can just be presence with somebody, which is what you provided for me many times, is just presence. And I've been able to pass that to friends who have gone through some challenging shit since then for me. That presence alone, I think grief, and maybe you alluded to this, grief connects us more than anything. That humanness, but also it's the most real experience we can be in. And this like unguarded, it's like, I'm very somatic, but it's like, it's just like messy. And it's just the most real thing that we can be inside of. That is a very human thing. And especially losing a parent, losing those closest people to us that brought us up. What insight would you want to pass to somebody if they had just lost somebody that was close to them? And if they don't have somebody that can hold the space for them, that can be the containment for them, what would you want that person to know?
Yeah, very important to remember that it's a marathon, not a sprint. In fact, it's an ultra marathon. And 5 years later, I'm just now processing some of the grief that society told me to process instantly. You know, when my mother passed, 2 weeks after that, I was like full force podcast. I think a week after that, I was doing a keynote because there was this mentality that I could push through the pain and I wasn't supposed to feel. And it wasn't until I got deeper into my grief journey that I realized like there was a lot that I needed to feel. So my invitation to everybody who is going through grief is to feel it all and don't try to get over it, because grief has its own curriculum. When a person numbs their self through the pain, when they run from the pain, when they try to hurry the pain or hurry up and move through the grief, they're missing out on the teachings of grief. Again, master teachers we always are talking about. Sometimes master teachers come in the form of play. Sometimes master teachers come in the form of joy. And sometimes master teachers come in the form of our entire world being broken apart to unlock a deeper level of love. The power of grief is actually disguised in love. It's love showing us itself in a way that can only touch us through losing something that changes us at a fundamental level. And so this is one of the ancillary like offerings that I extend to people who are going through grief, is like, if you stay in it long enough, trust me, the gifts will unveil themselves. A deeper level of connection to truth, a deeper level of connection to community, a deeper level of connection to yourself, a deeper understanding of love. But it takes time. If we try to insta-quick, insta-fast, fast-pass, cheat code our way through grief, we're missing out on the sacredness that grief has to offer, the sacred gifts that can only live in grief. So the first thing I tell people is to feel it, feel it all. The second thing is, sometimes when you've never felt something that is that debilitating, that it is breaking you open in ways you've never been broken open, it can be scary. And we're not supposed to do it alone. The second thing that I have to emphasize is we were never supposed to do it alone. And anybody who says that we're supposed to do life alone, that we're supposed to, when we are falling apart at the seams, when we're completely broken down, when we're completely falling on our back, that we're supposed to do that alone, that is a symptom of a very sick society. Because once upon a time, community was paramount to helping facilitate the grief journeys of the individual. We are meant to be held. We are meant to be taken care of. We are meant to be supported. So many people who go on the grief journey, especially my brothers, think I got to do it all by myself. And when I'm good, I can emerge. And I even got to say, like, as a recovering lone wolf, like, I wish I would have let more people in, but I didn't know how to let people in because society's done such a good job at saying, Branden, when you're broken, when you're down, when you're going through it, get through it and then come back on a different level. And so the second thing I just want to say is open the doors to bring people into your grieving process. And the only way to bring people into the grieving process is to be vulnerable enough to share authentically and truly what is going on. There is no more of a powerful connector than saying, I am fucked up right now. I'm falling apart. I'm scared and I don't know what to do. You know how many humans have experienced that? Every human has experienced that at one point or another. And the human heart, especially when it's with the right people, the human heart hears that. There's something beautifully hardwired in the human expression that wants to show up for others. Now, there's going to be people that just don't know how to show up for you. Choose your medicine wisely, but there are going to be a lot of people that do know how to show up for you. And then from there, it's about staying in the process as long as needed for the season of grief to move through itself. I talk a lot about the power of seasons. Like, the reason why spring is so beautiful is because winter had to happen. If we speed up winter, spring doesn't happen. The ice, the soil, the permafrost, the weather patterns, all of that is necessary to inevitably activate a beautiful spring. And so remembering that we are all children of Pachamama, of Mother Nature, that the seasons will move, also gives people hope at the end of the tunnel. There's light at the end of the tunnel to remember, yo, I'm in a winter season right now, but this ain't going to be forever. And what I've learned is that we are only given so many winter seasons in our life. Deep, dark nights of the soul, deep grief portals where we have this opportunity to do the work. Now, if a season of grief is given to somebody and they numb themselves through it, they drink themselves through it, they run away from it the entire time, they are missing out on the gifts that can only come from that season. And so the final thing I just want to say is like, feel it all. Don't numb, don't run, stay in it long enough, because nature, the universe, God, love is smart. And if you can trust that everything that is being given to you is actually for you, not against you, it allows for the dance in the portals of grief to take on a different energy.
Yes. So I think the biggest thing that people think about when going into grief, when I talk to my friends, when something happens, is they don't want to get stuck in the grief. But I love how Francis Weller talks about it. He literally flips it. So he says, if you don't go there, you'll never return. So he flips the fear, saying, people say, if I go into grief, I'll never come back. But he says the opposite. If you don't go into the grief, you'll never come back. Like, you have to go there.
Yeah.
You have to. Because like you're saying, that's what creates the sickness. Grief unspoken becomes our symptoms, becomes our sickness. It's so true. We have to go there. What is a grief that's present in your life right now?
Yeah, I mean, now that I have the vernacular of grief, there's so many micro griefs and macro griefs. One of my griefs that I've been sitting with is the death of an old identity and the birth of a new identity, and the liminal space in between what that was and what it could be. Being known as a trainer, as one of the best in the game, being signed to Nike, being, you know, this example in the wellness space, having traveled the world in this wellness space, having all these accolades in this wellness space, similar to an athlete coming to the end of his career as a pro athlete. And there's that grief of like, I am no longer that, but something else is coming online. There's been a deep part of me that is grieving what was, but also in the grief of what was the dissolution, right? Like, part of the decomposition process of nature is necessary for something new to blossom. So for me to allow what was to decompose to become nutrient-rich material for what is coming online, my artist chapter, my speaking chapter, my writer's chapter, there's both celebration and grief living all at once. I don't know what I'm stepping into. It's happening. All of a sudden, I'm talking about grief. All of a sudden, I'm expressing in a new way. All of a sudden, people are forgetting that I was a trainer once upon a time, and now people are looking at me as a writer or a guide in certain ways. There's a lot of grief that has flown through of this idea that who I was may no longer be alive anymore. And what I'm becoming is being birthed. So that's one of the griefs that is super present to me. Another grief, I have a lot of grief for the West. I see so many of the people I love stuck in a very sick machine that has them working and hustling and grinding for this quote unquote American dream or this ancillary prize at the end of the road. But all signs show that that's actually a trick. Krishnamurti had a quote. He said, "It's no measure of health to be well adjusted to a mentally sick society." The only way you can be well adjusted to a mentally sick society is to be insane. And so seeing so many of my brothers and sisters around the world having to abdicate their sovereignty, their health, their wellness, their well-being to play in a game that actually doesn't really care about them, it gives me so much grief. It breaks my heart. And I am doing my best to share any code I can to ignite the fire of sovereignty and love within the individuals that I have an opportunity to regularly touch on a regular basis, my friends, family, but also the people that I'm able to reach through my platforms.
Yeah. How do you tap into these micro griefs? Because Francis Weller would also say this, right? There's 5 gates of grief, which we should go into.
Yeah.
But there's these micro griefs that are always present. Like you just spoke to 2 that you're navigating. And I'm sure there are many more that just come up on a daily basis. But how do you give space for these? Do you have a practice that you actually get in and create a little space for it? Like I would create space for play or joy or other states that maybe I choose. And I'm like, I like these states, so I make sure I feel these states. How do you make sure you give space for the micro griefs? Because the macro, the big griefs, maybe we can't avoid. It's like, all right, this is this big. That's weighing on my chest.
Right.
Let me feel it. But the micro griefs, the ones that we are navigating day to day.
Yeah. Radical honesty with ourselves opens the doors for the micro griefs to be expressed. You know, the beautiful tradition of yoga and satya, radical honesty, radical truthfulness. To be able to name everything that's moving through us is powerful. And to be able to name everything moving through us as sacred is also powerful. And sometimes it doesn't have to be, quote unquote, parents dying, loss of home, genocide, all of these things that are happening. Sometimes it's as small as I didn't feel as connected to my partner, and that reminded me of something that happened when I was a child, or I didn't feel chosen, or I didn't feel seen. These things are also sacred material for us to be fully expressed as humans. And the essence of Satya says that all of our truth, all of our authenticity gets to be put on the altar of our human life, not just the things we're great at, not just the things that people celebrate. 3 of the questions I asked in my TED Talk was, can you love yourself like there's nothing to fix? Can you love the parts of you you deem most unlovable? And can you celebrate the parts of you that nobody celebrates? Grief is a part that not really many people celebrate. They're like, suck it up. You're whining. What is all that about? Well, if it's truly valid to a person, then that deserves some space. It deserves some attention. You know, we're these complex human beings that have multiple storylines, timelines living in us all at once. Maybe the 41-year-old me isn't grieving something small, but the teenager me that's still alive, that still influences part of my subconscious, is grieving something that I might just look over at this point. You know, it goes into like parts work and things like that. But the truth is, all of the great teachings tell us to slow down, tune into presence, tune into breath, and be aware of what is there. All of it is source material. All of it deserves our attention. I think the biggest invitation of our time is to stop propping up, quote unquote, the flashy emotions, the feel-good emotions, the ones that everybody wants to be around, the charisma, enthusiasm, and pizzazz, and start also elevating grief, shame, our wounds onto the altar of our own lives so that those can also be sat with. And I feel like the power that comes from that, the excavation of our own inner worlds, inevitably brings all the nutrient-rich material to the surface that is needed to grow the garden of our lives in a way that is not only personally fulfilling, but then hopefully it becomes food for other people. What's the difference between like an elder and a guide and somebody who's just started out? The elder and guide has lived enough, metabolized enough to now be able to bring nutrient-rich guidance to other people who are walking the path. And so again, it comes back to this idea that even though, and Francis Weller would say this, that healing is a solitary journey that we can't do alone. Even though it feels alone, the inner work, there's always the essence of community around it. Even the inner work, even the deep personal work that feels like nobody is there to hold.
As somebody who is definitely a warrior and a fighter, which takes a lot of maybe tension and intensity, how do you create space to soften enough to feel grief? Because as men, right, we're constantly validated by strength. You could, argue and say grief is strength, yes. But if you look at the Western world, what is strength? How is it defined? It's often defined by a showing of stoicism, right? A showing of physical power, presence. I can create safety as a man, which are beautiful things.
Yeah.
But is a safe man really a man that can't grieve? And so the man needs to be able to soften. But how? How does the modern man create space for actually being able to feel grief? Because I love what you're saying. And I've just started to cultivate this myself as an insatiable optimist. I've been for the majority of my life. To be able to really create space to, okay. Really sink into it and feel it. As somebody who is so strong, somebody who is a warrior fighter, how do you soften enough and create those moments to just let yourself be in the grief?
Beautiful question. And in order to make seismic shifts in our inner world, we have to first become aware that there's actually something that is off. I feel like there's a software program that has been uploaded without our permission, especially as men, that say, don't be a bitch, suck it up, G.I. Joe, Terminator, Rambo at all costs. And that there alone is what has turned the sweetest essence of what a young boy is. Because you see a young boy, he's not all convoluted and stoic. That turns them from being very expressive to stonewall. There's a term in the DSM. This is like the Diagnostic Statistic Manual in Psychology and the term is called Normative Male Alexithymia. And this is men's disconnection from their emotional body. So we've been taught to not feel. We've been programmed to not feel. And as a byproduct of not feeling, what happens is what doesn't get felt ends up creating dysfunction. And so for men, one of the most powerful examples of feeling is the feminine. Women are inherently connected deeply to their emotional bodies, and they're inherently deeply connected to the cycles of nature. Every month, my woman goes through the whole journey, and she feels, and in feeling, things flow. Feeling leads to flow. As men, there are so many beautiful examples that are around us in Mother Nature to show us that there is a better way than just being stoic all the time. What makes a powerful man truly powerful is his ability to tap into the wellspring of his heart's wisdom. So many examples in history of before samurais learning to wield the sword and before Spartans learning to become warriors, they had to learn poetry. They had to learn art, because when the fist is not balanced with heart, it becomes destructive. But when the fist, the sword, is rooted in heart, rooted in love, rooted in beauty, it opens up the doors for constructivity in the most powerful essence. You know, they say it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. Mm-hmm. Well, what does it take to be a gardener? Presence, being in tune to Mother Nature, being gentle with our touches. These are things that not only unlock deeper levels of what a man can be, but a man truly wants to be empowered, try infusing some softness into the mix. Mm-hmm. That is when we unlock what we call an embodied man. Not a disembodied man, not a fragmented man, not a man that is rooted in the upkeep of the patriarchy, not a man who is abusive, or those are not powerful concepts. Mm-hmm. A man who can create safety, a man who is regulated, a man who is a safe harbor for others to dock their ship, a man who can feel his emotions fully. This is what is possible when a man learns to soften. Mm-hmm. And one of the greatest ways to open the doors to soften is to surround yourself with other men who have the capability and the desire to also be fully embodied, fully integrated, rather than disconnected from their heart space.
Mm-hmm. As I see you wearing the necklace, the warrior, mm-hmm. How do you define a warrior?
Yeah. At the essence of a warrior to me is someone who will give their life to protect what is sacred. Mm. And for me, there's nothing more sacred than the heart. There's nothing more sacred than the children. There's nothing more sacred than our women. There's nothing more sacred than our brothers. Mm-hmm. There's nothing more sacred than Mother Nature. The question then becomes like, what are we willing to give to protect that? Mm-hmm. And I feel if one goes deep enough, and this is truly the essence of the warrior, when one goes deep enough, one would give their life to protect those things. Mm-hmm. The ancillary aspect of that too is that in order to protect those things, how devoted would one be to fully embodying the full potential of their own expression? Mm-hmm. Would they learn to be a martial artist, a hunter, a poet, a musician, a whatever talent their thing is, to uphold the community, even in the face of all types of opposition?
Mm-hmm. You mentioned in relationship mm-hmm. with the feminine, mm-hmm. navigating these softer spaces when we're constantly pumped with polarity, mm-hmm. right? As men hold the polarity, mm-hmm. which can be a beautiful thing. I love it.
Right.
Big fan. And to be able to be in the modern relationship, you mentioned to be able to be seen, witnessed, inspired by the feminine mm-hmm. in that. But that's our closest person. Mm-hmm. If you're in a relationship, you are, I am. Mm-hmm. We know that. We can't hold our grief for just, I'll share with the brothers and I'll come back to you. Or mm-hmm. I'll do my practice and I'll come back to mm-hmm. you when I'm a solid man. How do you bring all of you into the relationship?
John Legend style. All of me.
You just, yeah.
All of me.
Let's sing. Let's get the piano. That's good. You just sing.
Yeah, just sing.
Yeah, okay.
Honesty.
Yeah,
Satya, like bringing everything to the altar. You know, in my current partnership, we speak often about the altar. Mm-hmm. We don't have an altar sitting around. I mean, we have our trinkets and a devotional space, but when we speak about the altar of our relationship, it's this sacred, invisible space where all of ourself can be brought to the table. Mm-hmm. And as a man, it's taken me 41 years to learn to bring my stuff to the altar. Mm-hmm. To learn not to let it dissipate into less life-affirming expressions. To hide parts of myself because I don't want to fully be seen. there's so much power in being seen. There's so much power in bringing everything to the altar, and in partnership, but deeper than that, in friendship, in familyship.
Yeah.
When we bring all of our stuff to the altar, it then can be worked upon by the community. You know, going back to this essence of the indigenous ways, there was once upon a time space for everything to be brought to the altar, and done right, it always becomes nutrient rich for everybody involved rather than just ourselves. And so I think the feminine, especially as a man, is a beautiful place to begin to practice that space, to be received with love, to be received and witnessed. And for my soul sisters out there to learn to receive your man with love, with presence, with appreciation, to know that like it might be easy for you to share, but that might have been the hardest thing in the world for him to share his thing. That is sacred space that deserves the most amount of honor imaginable.
Yeah. It takes capacity on both sides.
It does, yeah.
How do you create the container for that? Maybe if it's newer to the other that you want to receive it from, right? Like how, because just to expect partner, family, friend to have the capacities, as Francis Weller says, we live in a flatline culture, right? So often people don't go there. They don't go to the highest joys and ecstasies or the lowest, darkest griefs. So most people are on that flat line. So to actually ask for that, how do you ask for it? How do you really help provide that opportunity for somebody to hold you? What does that look like?
Yeah, it's all about frameworks.
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons why Francis Weller resonated with you and I and so many people in our respective circles is because he offered frameworks that as soon as you understood it, you were like, I didn't really know I was missing that. That's the thing I needed. Again, like we haven't been trained or equipped with the tools to hold space. People say they're space holders. What does that even mean, to be a space holder? Yeah, to be a safe harbor, you know what I mean? But when the tools are integrated, you then open up the doors for something beautifully human. And, you know, there's so many different ways to hold space, but the most important thing is the desire to want to go deeper with your friends, your lovers, your family, and the acknowledgement that there is something fundamentally wrong when we're not able to go deep. It's like in order for the opening to happen, we have to acknowledge what is not there. And in most of our family situations, doesn't matter our skin color, religion, most of us who grew up in the West, we all feel that there is this thing missing where we can't name it. We don't know exactly what it is, but it's there. This is that space is the portal to begin to open up a deeper level of human connection, whether it's friends, whether it's lovers and all that. And what I've learned is like in naming that space, like I don't even know what it is exactly, but I want to be seen. I want you to hold me. I want you to hear me. I have these traumas from when I was younger. I'm probably acting out of my trauma right now, and I don't even know it because it's subconsciously there. Like even that there with a partner who is open, they are going to be open to work with that. Now, I also will say that there are people that are not open. And this is, again, important, especially when doing this work. Grief is one of the most sacred things we can hold. Vulnerability is one of the most sacred things, sacred weapons we can wield. It is so important to have the right containers be able to hold us. Alchemy, at its core, is all about the essence of containment. The container, can it hold the material? If it's leaky, if it's cracked, if it's not integrous, if it's shaky, the material can't cook. And so when it comes to relating to people, part of us doing the work justice is to also make sure that the people in our lives can hold what we're bringing to the table. Otherwise, it's easy for it to spill out. And I feel like for the process to, instead of being net positive, can actually be destructive. So it's not this idea of like, oh, love and light, kumbaya, everybody can hold space if we bring our material to the altar. It's important to have enough self-love to be discerning enough to bring the right people and the right containment online so that your material, my material, our material can cook in the right way.
Yeah, just like we said, if there's not containment, it can turn to trauma.
Exactly.
It's going to be re-traumatizing to try to bring it up. Just like, trauma dumping, don't grief dump on people if they can't hold it.
That's huge. That's
massive.
Yeah.
It actually was an organic shit test for my most recent relationship with my partner I'm with now. Week 2, I was grieving, and it was with my father. He was getting close. He was getting, close to that deathbed experience. And I could have easily been like, all right, we'll hang out tomorrow. See you tomorrow. But I was like, hey, actually, I'm grieving something right now. Could you come? Do you have space right now? Just to come witness me in it. I made the ask. And I've known this girl for 2 weeks. Like, I think I'm going to be with this girl. And I was like, actually, this is the most important thing for me to do. Yeah. It's not to have all these big, beautiful moments and like be perceived super sexy and solid and whatever. It's like, no, I want her to see me messy. How does she show up in that?
That's powerful.
And that deepened us like that.
To be seen messy.
Messy.
Yes.
And I was just crying. And when she came in, I was like, hey, there's a lot on my heart. Do you have the space right now just to witness? I don't need any answers, nothing. I don't need anything except space. And I want you to witness. And I just bawled. And that took us so close. And she still speaks about that. She's like, that was one of the deepest moments that we've shared.
Yeah.
For you to bring me in like that. I've never witnessed a man like that.
Yeah.
And if that repels the woman that I'm connecting with, all right, then I know that's not going to be the person I'm going to keep dropping in with.
That's it.
Or the friend. Or the person like, ooh, that was, you're not solid. Blah, blah, blah. They have a whole story around me being in that. Great. Great test. All right. This isn't it.
Giving people the opportunity to meet you is so powerful. The right people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just asking, can you witness me right now in this?
That's the key phrase. Can you witness me right now? I just need a witness. One of the things that was a game changer phrase for me is, do you need my mind? Do you need my ears? Or do you need my heart? In the process of witnessing. Sometimes people need the intellectual game.
Yeah.
Sometimes people just need you to hear and listen. And sometimes people need you to bring that heart coherence in the space. All are alive. And I'm learning every day, like, the power that comes online when we just put ourselves in spaces to witness and be witnessed.
Yeah. As somebody who's constantly a leader, and as we talked about before the podcast, actually, somebody who I imagine a lot of people come to you for codes, for insights, and just assume, okay, what has B got to share on this? And I presume you take that role a lot. How do you navigate the ask? Do you just have a tight community of homies that got you when you need it? How do you continue to lean into that when, probably like myself, it's so easy to be like, all right, got the tools, blah, 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 feel the thing. Okay, now go show up and lead. How's that for you?
It's a work in process and progress all the time. I am still learning to receive. It's one of my lifelong missions. It's going to be a process my entire life because I grew up on not receiving, taking care of everything, taking care of everyone. Success only amplifies what's already there. A lot of people think, I get all the time people tell me, like, when I become successful, all these things are going to change. Yeah, that's what you think. It's like when you become successful, all the things that are inherently dope are going to become doper. And all the things that are like vices and shadows, those are going to come online even more as well. So one of my big areas of work is learning to receive. Now, I do have a lot of beautiful, world-class resources and people that are constantly checking in on me, holding me to the fire, holding me accountable, not letting me bypass the heartbreak. My soul brother, Mark Groves, I remember I hit him up. I said, man, brother, I'm so heartbroken. He goes, good. Instead of, let me help you out of it. Good. Stay there as long as needed.
Don't waste your grief.
Don't waste your grief.
Yes.
So for me, it's a journey, but it's also such a beautiful opportunity to do the work. Because at 41, I'm now seeing life quite different. Like, I'm at the halfway point. I mean, hopefully, come on. But like,
get that 120. You're
gonna 120, 140.
Yeah, you get over
But you know what I mean? But like, things are gonna change over the next 20 years. And I read a quote recently by Emerson, and it said to know that your life has made one person be able to breathe a little easier is success. Like, this is really what's coming online. And so I'm learning that not only do I get to be held, but I get to hold by the very notion that I've walked through so many dark nights of the soul, and that so many people are walking through their dark night of the soul. So there's multiple angles to that question. But for me, it's giving myself the space to be held by the right people, and also understanding the responsibility that comes from being a leader, being a guide. You know what I mean? You have your advisors. For example, if we go like indigenous example, the chief of the tribe, there's certain levels bestowed upon him that he has to hold, and he has his advisors and he has his support system, but also he's trained his body, his mind, his spirit, and his heart to be able to hold a capacity and lead a village in a way that only he can do. And this is also what's starting to come online for me.
As somebody who's gone deep in the high performance space, I assume you still, resonate with that on a certain level, but not the leveling up, but the leveling down even more so, which I would say is high performance in a way. What do you feel like is the biggest kind of missed mark in the people that are in like high performance, get shit done? You know what I'm talking about. What do you feel like is the biggest missed mark about that space that people could come into?
Yeah, so it was funny. I was speaking to an entire symposium of UFC fighters, a high performance summit.
Yeah.
And they all thought I was going to come in there and be like, yo, the way to unlock the most world-class talent is to go harder, more discipline, grind till you die. And I looked at them all and I said, the most important hack, the most important tool that I have stumbled upon when it comes to unlocking your highest level of performance is self-love. And they looked at me like crazy. But then I got some DMs on Instagram. They're like, bro, like, I get it.
Yes.
Why do I say this? You can walk into a gym. You can walk into a high performance situation. You can walk into building a business, building a company, building oneself from a space of self-hate or from a space of self-love. From the outside looking in, you might not even see the difference. But if you're training because you hate yourself, if you're going hard because you hate yourself, it's a different energy than going so hard because you love yourself. It's very, very subtle. But when you peel back the layers and you allow time to unfold, those insertion points will take people in completely different trajectories in their life. For a lot of people, especially high performers, a lot of people who have become successful because they were filling a void. They were running from something. They were trying to prove that they were worthy. Once I become this, once I build this, once I do this, oftentimes because of some wound, oftentimes out of a space of self-hate. The game changes when self-love comes online. How can I insert myself into the gym and go so hard because I love myself? How can I build this next project because I'm doing it from a space of self-love rather than I need to be seen. It changes the entire trajectory. Now, the paradox of it is, if all of a sudden you love yourself, then maybe that thing you're going after all of a sudden might not be the thing you're going after anymore. Things change, and there's a big grief that can come online with that when all of a sudden everything one has chased their entire life has been shifted because now they're in service of I'm building from a space of wholeness rather than a space of me not being enough. I've seen the game play itself out time and time again. The game of I'm going to build it and then I will feel like I'm enough never happens. That is always a moving marker. But when a person can really start to build from, you know what? I am exactly what I'm supposed to be right now. I'm building from a space of self-love. Yes, I will blossom into something beyond this, but right now I am building from enoughness. That changes the game. And so for high performers across the board, if they can insert themselves into a space of, I'm going to perform from completedness rather than brokenness, it changes the game. A lot of people, and shout out to David Goggins. I love David Goggins. But a lot of people who read his book forget at the end of his book, he realized that the entire Can't Hurt Me story was rooted because he was not loving himself enough. At the end, he finally realized, he started stretching all the time. He realized all of this pain was because I didn't love myself. Sometimes you have to go through all of that to realize that. So that's the biggest code that I've learned out of 24 years in the high performance space. It's not measuring your HRV, although that's important. It's not sunlight. It's not ice baths. It's all that. Those are all great. But why are you doing that? What is that coming from? This again is inviting people into the soil.
Yeah. It's rare to see an athlete at the top of their game moving from love.
Yeah.
It's so rare.
Yeah.
Do you feel you can, it's interesting, do you feel you could achieve as much or more in any given domain if you're moving from love versus fear? Because you'd think fear, that fire under your ass, running from, not towards, like out of that fear, it's going to drive more. Obviously, that'd probably burn you out. But as we look at people at the top of the games of success, there's a lot more people moving from fear than love. Do you think you can still get to the top of those games from love?
I do. I think when you speak to any of the highest level performers, they know aspects of love. They talk about love of the game. Some of our brothers at surf, the love of the waves. So there's love there. But again, what is fueling it? I think that it's a newer way of looking at things. And so and the challenges with that is that there's not been any meta researches on that. But again, when we break it down at a soul level, certain truths just hit. Would a person on the journey want to risk missing out on possibly building the dopest thing ever from love? Just because maybe everybody in one's life or in society is not building from that space? I was always told when everybody goes left, go right. When everybody goes fast, go slow. When everybody's trying to level up, level down, and let's see what is there. And we see it time and time again, people at the highest level absolutely losing it all. Everything crumbling, everything falling apart. Why? Because what they built it on wasn't nutrient rich. So this is the invitation of our lifetime. This is actually what our ancestors laid down all their lives for. This is what all the great teachings are pointing us, is like this time right now to have the opportunity to build from something that is not rooted in fear, survival, what's my skin color, what's my religious orientation, am I going to be murdered because I think differently? we have been gifted this opportunity to do it different.
Mm-hmm.
To not do it different is just to repeat the past.
Mm-hmm.
Did our ancestors sacrifice that much for us to like not do that? And so this is what I would say is like the deepest invitation of these times is like, why not try it out?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm being shown on my own journey of leaving behind, like being one of the top high performance coaches in the game, to going into the journey of speaking about love. Who's this dude from East Vegas speaking about love? Love is my mission. All of a sudden, it's opening up doors that I never thought could open. So I believe it's game theory 101. Mm-hmm. Finite games and infinite games. Mm-hmm. Finite game, fixed rules, fixed winners, fixed losers. That's fear. Infinite game, love. Infinite winners, infinite possibilities, infinite play. But we have to be courageous enough to step into that portal.
With the trajectory of where the world's going right now, mm-hmm. societally, with the amount of distraction, the amount of disconnection, the mm-hmm. amount of illness, which is the root of what and why we're building what we are at Whole Human. Mm-hmm. What do you feel like is the main code people need to start connecting into mm-hmm. or start realizing with the trajectory of what we see in mm-hmm. modern society?
Yeah. Hermetic law of polarity. There's two forces alive at the same time. Mm. It's not one reality. Mm-hmm. Love and fear. Mm-hmm. They're both alive. And they're both readily accessible. Most of us are pulled into the pockets of fear. The limbic system hijacks the entire body. Cortisol shoots up, and next thing you know, we're susceptible to being swept into the fear paradigm. Mm-hmm. But love is alive at the same time. Right now, we're being asked more than ever, what do we choose to see? Do we choose to see love, or do we choose to see fear? Small example, like on my Instagram, there are moments where I want to shout out from the top of the rafters, genocide's horrible. Mm-hmm. Everybody wake up. The government's poisoning us. Mm. Is that, and a lot of people do that, is that the best use of energy? Am I actually, without knowing it, actually supporting fear? Or could I put up a post and say, hey, get outside today, get some sunlight, serve your community, and love yourself? That there, a person beginning to vibrate higher, is going to start to be in a deeper level of coherence and make decisions that are more rooted in love, that inevitably ripple out in a way that is not going to happen if I just fearmonger. Mm-hmm. They're both there. It's like there's a beautiful quote that my mentor shared with me. He said, if you don't understand what's going on, everything is a tragedy. If you do understand what's going on, everything is a comedy. And when you write it all down, it's all a history. Mm. Love is as easily accessible as fear. But it's easier to grab onto fear than love. Heaven is not a place you go to. It's a place that you grow to. And it's found in the present moment. Heaven and hell is here. And there are people literally living in hell. They see hell, they move through hell. They're fueled by fear, pain, grief, and that's all they see. Just as easily as that. And this is all the great teachings. All the great teachings offered us and point us to this choice point. The yogic traditions say, remove the chittavritti, the static agitation of the mind, and tune into the present moment and see that there's love, there's wholeness, there's oneness. And that's the paradox of our times, is like this essence that we have the ability to choose our own adventure. What adventure do we choose? That is the game being played out in real time, right in front of our eyes.
Let's get that infinite game.
Infinite game.
Let's put people on game, because something that you've done for me is you've introduced me to so many amazing people and amazing books and resources. This book, Ritual by Malidoma Somé. Dude, and I just saw you with this on an airplane years ago. We ended up being on the same flight to Bali, and I saw it. I'm like, what's that book? You're like, oh, you got to get on this.
You're like the only people ever who's jumped on the game.
The next week, bought it. It gave me the resource to hold a grief ceremony for my ex who had cancer, and I needed to hold a ceremony in this community. Said, I know what to do.
Wow.
Okay. I've got the thing now. I understand how I can show up for that, and had to test it, had to put myself into that space. Can you put people on some game? What are the top resources, top books, people around grief and around love that people should be looking for right now?
Yeah. I mean, Francis Weller is a wellspring. I've been deep in his portals for the last 4 years. The Alchemy of Initiation is game-changing. Support Francis Weller.
Yes.
He is a game changer on so many levels, and he's doing it from so much heart. His other 2 series are The Apprenticeship with Sorrow. Apprenticeship with Sorrow is a game changer, and this is where he dives into the 5 gates of grief. And then his 8-week course is called Living a Soulful Life. And you won't really understand it until you get into it, as my brother Ryan has and so many other people have.
Yes.
But Francis Weller to me is it right now. Dr. Jaya John. Dr. Jaya John is also in that space. He is a ceremonialist. He is a social psychologist. He is a poet, and his transmissions are absolutely incredible. I'll play you a song after this through Jaya John. And then when it comes to some books, there's been some books that have just been pivotal when it comes to me understanding the human dance, the human expression of love in many different ways, many different mediums. One of the books that has been most profound for me is called The Narrative of a Slave by Frederick Douglass. And this is a autobiography written by a former slave, and what he had to go through to educate himself, to actually be able to think abstractly enough to realize he was even a slave. Think about that. Like, once upon a time, you were just like, this is what it was. There was no internet, no Instagram to be able to reflect, no YouTube. And his journey he went on, and he has a quote that he goes, I prayed for my freedom for 20 years, but nothing changed until I started praying with my legs. When you think about that quote, a lot of people on the healing journey, a lot of people on the grief journey, a lot of people think that the flowers and the codes are just going to be handed to a person. If that was the case, nobody would be dealing with trauma or dealing with these stuck energies. What Frederick Douglass points everyone to is that you have to almost earn the healing. You have to walk towards it. And some people get triggered with the word earn, but we already have enough examples of people doing nothing and nothing changing. So something has to change. Something has to be given. And Frederick Douglass, from slavery to becoming the first Black man ever to go to the White House, if anybody has anything in them that is scared to go on the journey, whether it's towards success, towards their healing, read that book. Another book that is super powerful for me, read it once a year, is The Alchemist. Paulo Coelho, Young Santiago, and The Journey. And for some reason, as I learn more of these tools, I see it all through the alchemical journey that he goes on. Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl is an absolute game changer. And I would say the final book that I'll share that I highly recommend everybody revisit at least once a year is Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss. Because it is similar to that. You know, like, nobody is you. It's truer than true. And all of the codes that Dr. Seuss had in that book, it's game changing.
Dr. Seuss had codes, man.
Had codes on codes.
We just read that in the communal library for the children in Nosara, both in Spanish and English.
Yeah.
That's it, man.
Codes.
Yeah.
And the final would be my favorite podcast right now is called The Emerald.
Oh, dude, The Emerald.
And The Emerald has so much codes. Whatever Josh of The Emerald is transmitting right now, it's on another level. And anybody who's a deep seeker, that there is a portal to so many other pathways. And I'll just end with saying, like, when one taps into the right wisdom body, it opens up the doors to its own curriculum. Mm-hmm. The key is to dive into what resonates, absorb what's useful, as Bruce Lee would say, discard what's not, add what is uniquely your own, and everything else just begins to unfold.
The final question that I ask everybody is, what does it mean for you to be whole?
For me to be whole is to be fully expressed. And for me to be fully expressed is to have lived a full life. And to have lived a full life means that I have done it all. I've grieved, I've loved, I've lost, I've broken down and I've broken through. And I've done it in my own way. And so love is my mission, love is my North Star, and love is my torch that allows me to continue to go into the depths of the dark night of the soul to not only remind myself who I am, but I'm learning, help others remember who they are.
Thank you, brother. I
It's
love
an
you,
honor.
B.